Well, I could go on, and maybe at another time we would, but I would like to get into some of your work.
I would too.
One of the, well, I could go into lots of different things, but you have a concept in your work called, because of your experience, called the second birth.
Yes.
Could you describe or tell me a little bit about that experience or concept, or however?
Yes, both. And why don't I start with the experience?
All right.
When I awakened, I had already been for some period of time, it wasn't long, maybe 6 weeks or so, 7 weeks, but I had been attuned into the witnessing quality of consciousness, which is an awareness of an impersonal, in a sense, a background presence that was taking in the movie of the life of Saniel and everything going on. And then there was a point, though I didn't really distinguish this until later, and interestingly I realized, oh yeah, this is part of something like analogous to. I always say this about my stuff in relation to Adida. I don't say it's the same as the seventh stage of life or blah, 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 but the closest analogy I could find was him talking about that between what he described as realizing the witness position and the full awakening as he proposed it, there would be a stage of what he called contemplating consciousness. And later on, looking back, it dawned on me, oh yeah, that had taken place, where it was as if the witnessing was a given. I mean, I could care less, right, consciousness is witnessing. But instead what occurred, interestingly enough, by getting drunk one night, and there's something about that occasion where the body and the mind were drunk, and oh boy, consciousness was just blazing.
Right.
And so there was this rapt, I mean, I think part of what threw me off from his description was the word contemplation. So my experience was a kind of exulting in consciousness, marveling at the fact of consciousness, and essentially being absorbed in that all the time while continuing with my life, and then going through this tantric initiation, sexually and bodily, that then yielded. I was sitting at, if you remember, down in Larkspur Landing. There used to be a restaurant called the Good Earth,
yes,
interestingly enough. And I had gone there to have breakfast after spending a second night with my new intimate partner. And I was sitting there working on a laptop computer waiting for my pancakes and eggs. wasn't following the prescribed diet at all. Just, pretty much eating what I felt was sustaining for me. But I was sitting there, and I happened, something drew my attention. I looked up outside, and I saw the building outside and trees and so forth, and I immediately felt no distinction. That it was as if the pressurized bubble of the sense of separateness had simply vanished, so that what I had been feeling to be my own essential consciousness was now simultaneous with the field of everything that exists.
Well, you said the word seamless as a
seamless
descriptive adjective.
That was the first word that came to me. Seamless. Seamless. And later I came up with the word onlyness to describe it, because I really got, no wonder he said there's only God.
I mean, that's the terms in suchness, onlyness, isness, or whatever. The traditions have always referred to consciousness as just that.
Right. And there was one of a number of the things he had written in his earlier works, particularly Adida, really struck me as, okay, there is a clear analogy here between what he was describing and what I'm experiencing. And one of them was in his book, The Paradox of Instruction, where he said that the advent of this realization of the infinite, if you want to call it that, isn't what you might think, like expansion from a point. It's more as if a balloon is popped, and it's an instant equalization of all space.
Zero space, or equalization.
Equalization. And that was exactly... And I realized, oh yeah, I mean, I knew that one of the principal meanings of the word samadhi was equalization of pressures. And I got, oh boy, I get that now. And there was an immediate feeling of, okay, this is what I was looking for all along. This may be what I was looking for lifetimes that we couldn't have actually done in the previous formats. There was a sense of in later language I developed a healing of the split between spirit and matter that was just obvious and a given. And then it was just a few days later that the transmission energetic kind of popped into gear, which was definitely noticeable distinction from being awake in and of itself. And that led to my work.